And I wish I could bottle it up and get guys to do it every game. But I'm like, why were we so good tonight? And they'll give you a reason. One kid will finally pipe up and go, we were talking. I'm like, yeah, you can do every system wrong and do your forecheck wrong. But if you talk your way through it, you're going to have more success than if you do your system to a T and don't talk.
That was the head coach and general manager of the Maryland Black Bears, Clint Mylmyok, and you are listening to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolin.
Just watch me now.
Welcome to Up My Hockey with Jason Podolin, where we deconstruct the NHL journey, discuss what it takes to make it, and have a few laughs along the way. I'm your host, Jason Podolin, a 31st overall draft pick who played 41 NHL games, but thought he was destined for 1,000. Learn from my story and those of my guests. This is a hockey podcast about reaching your potential. Hello there. Welcome back to the Up My Hockey Podcast with Jason Podolin. I am your host, Jason Podolin, here for episode 166 today with Clint Mylmyok of the Maryland Black Bears of the North American Hockey League. The North American Hockey League is a Junior A Tier 2 league in the United States. It is regarded by pretty much everybody as the second best junior league next to the United States Hockey League, the USHL. There are 30, how many teams are there? 20, I think there's 34 teams in the NAHL, all from like Anchorage all the way to the East Coast. So down to Texas, it's all over the place with the divisions. Lots of players, lots of teams, lots of great hockey, lots of commitments out of that league to NCAA programs, especially Div 1 and Div 3. And yeah, there's a lot of movement from the NAHL to the USHL as well. So players may not start in the USHL, but they will start at the NAHL. And United States Hockey League scouts, players, GMs, or coaches and GMs will identify players to bring in and bring them to their program. So there is a lot of cross-pollination when it comes to the NAHL. And you will find out all about that today as we talk with Clint Mylmyok. Clint is in his 8th year with Maryland. Maryland was an expansion team when he started. He was the head coach GM with no staff and had to bring the team on board and up to speed and whatever that was, 4 to 5 months. And yeah, obviously got his bruises there early, but has developed Maryland into an absolute powerhouse. They're 18-3 this year on the season at the time of this recording. You know, the leading their division, and have been known to have great teams and have built a very, very reputable and sought after program there in Maryland. So credit to Clint. We talk about that, the culture aspect, the recruitment aspect. What it takes to be a player, all the stuff you'd expect from an Up My Hockey podcast. There are some really great lines in this one when it comes to winning, when it comes to what is the number one key for a player to advance and to reach their potential that he has seen. We talk about parents and their involvement with players, do's and don'ts. We talk about leadership. We talk about communication and how important he deems it to be, how he runs his locker room, what it takes to win and why it's important to win. Especially at his level, what that means for a player advancement, what that means for character and your reputation. So yeah, this was almost an hour and a half, I believe. We cover a ton of ground. Clint is we didn't talk as much about Clint's personal story as I would have liked, which tends to happen sometimes on these when we get on great discussions. I just let the program go, but we do talk about it a bit. But he was, essentially an unconventional coach when it comes to at the pro level, or at the level he's at, I should say, with the NAHL, because he wasn't really a player himself. He was a player that he said didn't have a passion enough for it as a player, and then got back into the game because he found a love for hockey. He had a love for hockey, just not as a player, and didn't really know how he would fit in, if he could fit in without an actual without playing experience, and obviously got his foot in the door, and he talks about that. But I really like that aspect of his journey, to be able to get to where he's at and been offered now pro jobs and at higher levels, and has turned them down because he loves the situation there in Maryland. But, develop himself personally, to develop his craft and his skills to be at the level he's at, to run the program that he's at, I think is super compelling. So I just wanted to recognize that fact, that I think that what he's doing there is great, and I love his story. But the conversation itself is pretty much directed around all things development and all things that I believe that you'll be curious to hear about. So without further ado, let's bring you my guest for episode 166. That's the head coach and general manager of the Black Bears of the North American Hockey League, Clint Mylmyok. Welcome to the podcast, head coach and GM of the Maryland Black Bears of NAHL, Clint Mylmyok.
Thanks for having me. This is a senior show. There's a lot of good insights, so I'm happy to be here.
Perfect. I'm sure you're going to add a few. I know I gave you the brief before we started that I'm a bit of a neophyte when it comes to the NAHL, and it's a fantastic league. I know that, but I don't know much about it. So I think for my audience, they're going to be coming at it for me, and I think it'll be a great chance to chat about where you're playing and how you advance players and all that good stuff. So looking forward to the talk.
Yeah, I mean the North American Hockey League is based. We got teams in up in Alaska, the Midwest, obviously the Atlantic region, East Coast. So we were in Maine last weekend, played a weekend series there. So there's teams everywhere. So I like our conference, to be honest, because we're located where majority of schools are, and which is on the East Coast. So we think we have an advantage in terms of commitments and schools being at games and. Right. It seems advantageous for us when you can point to a school and say, hey, we got schools watching, not just online, but they're actually standing in the building. So that gives us an advantage, I think, with some recruiting. But then in the end, schools recruit top programs, and we think we're one of them. So we're happy to know that we have some good traction with schools and do a good job of placing our guys, even with the new landscape. But it's a good junior A Tier 2 league. It's I think prepares kids really very well for NCAA. It's a tough league. It's not easy to score, and you gotta earn your ice, as they say. So I think it prepares guys.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to dive in more. I want to start though with you. As most of my listeners know, I'm down here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, with a previous podcast guest, Jeremy Mylmyok, your brother, who is the head of hockey here, and so which brought us together at that Minnesota showcase. And yeah, I mean, in his story, I found out that he came up to Notre Dame as a young man and as a player and staying at the dorms, and you were with them. So maybe we can start there, like that pit stop or that journey up to Wilcox, Saskatchewan, and how that kind of formed who you are today and what you're doing now.
Yeah, I think the top question we got asked when we were at Notre Dame was, "What are you doing here?" We were in California at the time, pre-Gretzky. No one knew about hockey really, and our dad's from small town Saskatchewan, a couple hours away by the U.S. border, and so apparently I asked my parents, where can we go to play better hockey and compete? Because at 15, around that age in California, parents were like, "Listen, like hockey's going nowhere, so focus on football, baseball, or something different, golf." And so if you're a hockey player, everyone left to go to Minnesota, Boston, or Massachusetts or Canada. So with our roots in Saskatchewan, my grandparents there, my parents felt that was a good stop for us. So my Jared and I, our older brother Spencer too, he was in Boston, actually near Boston, the year before, and I think he spent more time in Boston than in prep school. So my parents said, you need to go with your brothers in Saskatchewan. So that's how we kind of ended up there, and it's a life I guess in terms of networking and hockey, it's crazy. Like I still run into guys we met on our journey in Saskatchewan more than I do probably going to university in terms of the hockey world and how many connections there are.
Yeah, that's wild. What was briefly coming from California to a renowned program at the time in Notre Dame, obviously still is something that people recognize and is a well-known brand. What was it like for three California boys rolling off the bus or wherever the heck you got there, and your initial experience?
there's one pad of smooth concrete in that town at the time. It was right by the rink. So being California kids and probably 3 or 4 other kids from California joined us too, like older and our age. So we all kind of came out there together. And so being California kids, the first thing we did was build some skateboard ramps in the middle of the parking lot. And some old guy walked by and was giving us crap, saying, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And my older brother Spence kind of gave it to him and skateboarding like we did. And then it ends up being Barry McKenzie, who was the guy that coached all these NHL stars at school, president at the time or principal. And so a lot of people would laugh at us going, it's funny, we went from the outcasts to the kids that came back from Thanksgiving or Christmas time, bringing gifts and selling them for extra cash. So a lot of guys are wearing Oakley and Quicksilver and Billabong surf. We had a culture shift in Wilcox, Saskatchewan, due to us, I think, at times.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But it was fun, like, you know, really seeing what hockey was too. I remember being on the ice with guys. So I get my first game in organized hockey there was like Frank Kovacs, Mike Sillinger, and Jamie Heward were on the same team. And I think so. I'm like, these guys were all first round picks in the Western League, and a couple were first round picks in the NHL. So like some of these guys had full mustaches. I was 16, 15. I remember just going, what do we like? How is this possible? So it was really touching in a hurry, like what it's like to compete, how heavy it was, and how much they're into it. I mean, it's a lifestyle, right? So we got a quick lesson in terms of what the players and the play was like, and learning how to navigate those bumpy roads. And it's not easy. You're leaving home, and there's calls. Obviously, I don't want to be here. I'm sure we all had a couple of those, and yourself included, where you're not sure at a young age when you leave home. It's not easy. And luckily, we had an older brother there, and some other guys that we could kind of hang out with and confide in during the tough times. But I loved it. It was freedom for us at a young age. For whatever reason, I felt comfortable leaving home and wanted to, and having brothers there certainly helped.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, a lot of big decisions for families at that age. You know, what's too young and what's not, and is the player ready? And you never really know until you're there, I guess. But it seems like the ones that stick it out are you get through those tough times, and it's some of the best times you'll ever remember. If you can get through it.
Absolutely. I mean, that the answer from my parents were, you decided you wanted to do this, so deal with it, figure it out, and this is something you got to learn how to do on your own and figure out. You're not coming home. So I think that was kind of the message. My parents were always like that, though, when it came to coaches or whatever. Talk to your coach, don't talk to us. And they could have been that style of parent in terms of, maybe we'll look at somewhere else, but they never were. They were always like, stick it out, figure it out, have adult conversations at a young age, and learn how to navigate those waters. And you find after a while, when you're younger and do it early, like it's not that bad. And coaches respect that, and they enjoy young kids that have those mature conversations.
I agree. Do you feel that's actually been a topic of the pod before, and since you bring it up, might as well dive into it. Like, how do you feel that has changed, if it's changed at all, with the players that come through at the ages that you see them at? I mean, roughly 18 to 20, I would guess, is the majority of your players. Is it parents calling in this day and age still? Is it agents? Are the players comfortable? I realize that it's, each kid is different, but just if you're speaking generalities, what do you see?
So my first year coaching, I had a parent try and come up to me and say something about his kid. And I just said, go grab your kid. And he's like, well, no. I said, no, go grab your son. Like he deserves to be part of this conversation. If you're going to talk to me about him and how we're playing him, this is going to be a group talk. So there's no messages missed. I got patience for it a little bit because it doesn't happen that often, to be honest. It's rare, but if it does happen, I want the kid there. And that way there's no messages that are misconstrued, or there's no drop message or half a message. And so I've had those talks with kids, and maybe since I've been in Maryland two times. I think one time I had my phone, I held it up in the air on the bus, and I said, why is your dad calling? And kid was embarrassed. So we had an incident maybe one time before. I said, you got to I tell kids, handle your parents. Like they're not my parents, and I don't want to talk to them unless they want to know where the hotel is. I don't think it's right. I think you have to grow up and come to me and give me the respect, and or assistant coaches the respect that we deserve. We're not tyrants. We're fair. I call it firm but fair. Like I always feel like as long as they give a kid a good roadmap that in terms of how do I play more, get more ice, and then we can go to video and whatnot. Like we don't just say work harder. So I feel like we put in so much work that we're due that respect. And I think kids got to learn how to have those conversations, like I said earlier. So yeah, it's still there. You see it sometimes, man, but you see it in pro hockey too. Why do some players not make it? There's a lot of interference through family members, and at some point GMs will say the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So a lot of times they don't hear that. The players don't know why. They just get traded. And I think that in itself isn't fair. So I'd rather the players know this is what's going on and you need to handle it. And I've had that talk. So I don't need to talk to your parents. I don't care if they like me. I don't need more friends. So I think the focus needs to be on you, but you got to handle it. And if they don't, then I mean, listen, man, it's a business, and I don't mind finding some kid a place to play, but I want them to know what the deal is and what's going on, and be really upfront about it. So there's no guessing.
Right. Yeah. No, super fair. Transparency is king, I say, and usually is the best policy. The I think that's important for parents to know, though. Like I've coached long enough at the amateur levels here now with different players and different families that it makes the coach's job so hard. And I know it happens at junior too, where like the message isn't the same at home, or it's a different message. And then the player's conflicted, and it doesn't help the player, or it's always a victim mentality, right? Like, oh, it's always this, and there's no accountability from home, which makes the player have much less accountability at the rink. Maybe just touch on that, like a message to parents. I mean, if you have one, about like how to guide a player right now, and how to do them the best service that you can as parents.
Yeah. Uh, so obviously I got nephews that play, and at some point, they want some feedback from a different perspective. Like, hey, did you watch my shifts? And my first thing I ask is, well, what are your systems? Like, where does he want you to stand in D zone, a neutral zone? So the right off the hop, that's a conversation I have with kids about their parents. Say, listen, they don't know like our conversations. They don't know that when we do video, where I want you to stand. So if they want to get on a Zoom call and sit down and ask questions, I'm actually okay with that. So at least we're on the same page. And now I won't do it for everyone, but if it's that important to a parent to give you direction, at least let it be good direction.
Yeah.
Let them see the game through my eyes. Like I want you the player to understand what I'm watching through my eyes first of all. This is structurally speaking, not like in terms of their skill set. So but I want them to know like, hey, D zone, you're supposed to stand like this. This is our forecheck, be here. Now when it comes to creativity, then that's when I want to hear the player tell me like, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm trying to do. And so now we're on the same page, and that's where I think parents are lost. They just see like, oh, he's not in the power play. I'm like, well, I have this talk with schools, by the way. Why isn't your one of your top scorers who's committed on the power play? I'm like, why isn't your recruit understanding our structure and our breakout? He seems to not know where to stand or what we're doing. Like, so I mean, that happens with schools too. So there's a lot to balance, man. It's not that easy. It's not for everyone. You got to have a thick skin. But we do try and provide like insight if they really want it, and that way, you know, it's funny when people call on the behalf of their player or their client, some advisors. I'll listen, and after a while, I'm like, okay, did you ask him these series of questions? I give him like five. I'm like, did those come up? Did their work ethic off the ice come up? Did they tell you they were late for video? Did they, or whatever it may be, right? And if they don't know, it kind of opens up their eyes to go, yeah, I'm just getting one side of it. And I think that's where patience comes in, where it's like we have to all understand like what the roadmap is, what the messages have been, and I always tell them like, listen, if the kid's not going to apply what we're telling them, then there's an issue, and you got to understand you can't just go off of what he's telling you. It's not fair to the coaches. And some coaches maybe don't give messages. I've heard those stories where what does he tell you, or what have you been told? Just figure it out, or they don't really give me time. So you hear that too. But I like to think when I sit a kid, or if I do sit a kid, we can go to video and go, you tell me why I should play you. Give me three reasons based on what we just watched. And a lot of times you'll find if they're really good at self-assessing, they're like, you're right, I got to fix it. And we just have like adult, mature conversations, and And like I said, it's a lot of work, but I really want kids to not guess and wonder what's going on and why they're sitting. I think sometimes you got to work hard with the kids that aren't playing as much maybe and help them understand what they need to do and be fair and give them a reason to be in the lineup, right? And with a lot of advisors, schools, parents, like it's like a kid when you recruit a kid and a scout tells me he wants to play in Maryland. I'm like, well, what does advisor say? Well, I didn't talk to him. What did the school say? I didn't talk to them. What did the parents say? Like the kids, it's not just the kids anymore. It's really a lot of people involved, which is fine. It's kind of the way it is.
Yeah. With your philosophy there, which I admire and promote and condone and try to model, where did you get that from? Because as you said, like not everybody is dialed that way, right? Not everybody does take the time or think the message is important. Like when did that become an important part of your coaching style and practice?
Early on, I felt I used to do a ton of video. Like I didn't have a couple things I didn't have when I started coaching. I didn't have assistant coaches in junior. I had volunteers. I didn't have big budgets, so like just get rid of guys and pay for a new player. So I guess what I had to do, I had to get inside their minds and develop guys. I had players that were, this happens every year. I've had guys that were close to being cut to being having to develop them or wanting to develop them, and they turn into one of our top players. So I think it comes from that a little bit. Obviously, your upbringing, you should have a little bit of say in how you handle situations, but also working in the business world, being an assistant coach at some point and sitting there and going, man, like we're the, we're not doing enough for these kids, or I do it differently. Like you get to really learn from listening too, and I think a lot of people aren't great listeners. So just being around hockey people, and I've had some good mentors and guys that when I work with them, they weren't too cool to get my opinion when I wasn't involved in coaching. I remember sitting at a bar with a GM who's in the Western League now, and I remember him asking me about line combinations. Like, why is he asking me? Like, but he thought I knew something because in our conversations he'd say something and I would counter it. I wasn't afraid to speak my mind. He's like, what? And he kind of looked at me and goes, well, what do you mean by that? And then after a while, they start realize, okay, you know something, and they weren't afraid to get input. So I think part of that too is I guess utilizing the people around you as well, and seeing how top guys do it. I think the best coaches and administrators aren't guys who want to talk the whole time and let people hear their voice. They actually want to listen.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I love that. So the idea of having at least at the beginning of your coaching career, having, maybe some players that would have been cast off by other programs, you don't have a huge recruitment funnel. So you have to make the best with what's there, which is, utilizing the potential out of each player, which is something that I speak about all the time with my hockey business and the mindset training and stuff is like, how do we become the best player we can be, and that's sort of the equation that I'm proposing to anyone that I work with all the time is like, well, what's missing? Like, what can we add? What can we do? So sounds like you took that philosophy. I mean, from a coaching standpoint, one by necessity, but two, you saw the fruits of the labor too. Like that's really an exciting part of the process, isn't it?
Yeah, you learn how to develop or enhance skill sets and get the most out of the players. Like my first year of being in junior A ever, we lost 9 games all year. I recruited my ass off, and I was always told the better you recruit, the better the coach you are, which is really true. And so we had a really good team. And the next year, I lost a lot of guys, lost all my top scorers, and we started like 4-1, then we lost like 8 straight. I mean, 8 straight. And as a young coach or first kind of second year coach, you're stressing every night. And then I finally just said, you know what, I got to really get to know these players and find out what's going on. Like, what's your problem? How do we fix it? And asking those questions with some guys, you see body language, they're just not into it. And so you have some heart to hearts. You learn how to talk as well. I think coaching youth hockey and young kids that don't really want to be there, and how do you make it fun? How do you get them to work? Is just as important is when you get to the NHL. You got to learn how to massage egos. It's not about because you can probably tell me more about that, but I don't think it's about X's and the O's as much as how do I get this guy to skate hard or back check through this, and you got a GM saying play this guy more, and I mean it's a lot. It's a lot of more so managing than it is. I mean every guy in the NHL knows what a forecheck is and a 1-3-1 and what you're supposed to do, but does he want to do it? And so that's at our level. It's not always that different. You're trying to motivate kids. And I always say, what's the carrot when you talk about players in your room, like in your office? Like, how do we get this guy to do something? And it's not just me. It's a question I ask my assistant coaches, and I think that's important too. Is utilize your staff and don't be a dictator. I tell players like at some point on the bench, I got to be a dictator and just do what we tell you. But before that, like we want a lot of interaction with assistant coaches and give them some room to like also develop. And I tell you what, man, when you go on the ice and listen to a coach talk and the terminology, you learn a lot more than just being the guy talking. And so yeah, learning how to develop mindsets as much as skill sets, I think is really important because we try and find mentally tough players. And what does that mean? And I guess it means kids that we can push and motivate without pushing them out of the game. And there is a special circumstance these days on how you talk to kids. And you can't just be, barking at them and bitching at them. That doesn't work.
Yeah, you're one of the things that I say when people ask me about like, well, what makes what you do different? And I said, well, it's not really different. Is this maybe a slightly different approach? But like I often talk about like coaching the person before you coach the player, or getting to know the person before you coach the player. And I think like when we're talking about unlocking guys or you talk about the carrot, like that's psychology, right? Like that's human nature. That's a guy's personality. And I think if you discount that as a coach and you're just talking X's and O's all the time, like you're missing the piece where that juice is, as you're talking about, right? Like what makes him tick? Like what motivates him? What's he scared of? Like, not that it's counseling or therapy, but it's like you need to know these things, I think. And then once you kind of know the person and you can develop the person, then the player follows. It sounds like that's what you're doing there, you and your staff.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fun part where you're on the bench and you're telling the kids something, and it's not hockey terminology. It's maybe something that's life, right? I think getting to know your players is really important. Like, how many coaches really know, like, this guy's got, 3 sisters and a brother, or he's got a brother that's a pro ball player, or whatever. Like, just play. Being an assistant coach is fun. Players talk to you, and they want to ask you questions. They want to come to you with complaints or gripes. And as an assistant coach, I would always tell kids, this question is for the big guy. So he's not a bad guy. He's very conversational. He's actually really funny. So like get to know your coach too. But I think it goes both ways. Like the head coach has to get players, and that's something I've tried to do a little bit more over the years. Is like really sit down with players, and when they come in the office, like bring them in and don't talk hockey. Ask them other questions. What did you do this weekend? What do you do for fun here in Maryland, even? Or do you flit? What are your hobbies? Some coaches tell their guys when you're here, it's all business. Where you're not golfing, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. Where I'm the opposite. I'm like, I want you to have fun when you're here and your days off. We work so hard, and it's such a long year that on our day off, I do want you to hit the links with your buddies if you golf. I want to tell you where some fishing spots are, around the rink or in Maryland where you can go, go fly fishing or whatever it may be that a kid might be into. Um, Getting to know your players is important. I honestly found out one of my top players this weekend. His brother is like a pro skateboarder, and that hits home for me because I grew up skateboarding and surfing, and was part of our lifestyle growing up. So it's just the more you know about your players, the more fun it is, and the more they're not talking to you as someone that's above them or superior. Like I want it to be like I'm here with you, and yeah, I can't be your best friend, but I got to be someone that we can talk on many different wavelengths and not just coach player. I think that's boring. I think it's old school, and I don't think it's fun for players when you're just like talking hockey 24/7. Now I want them to be conversational in hockey. By the time they're done, I want their IQs to raise, but I want it to be um, a program where kids come in and and they can walk in my office and have a conversation. It's not always hockey. And you do have those conversations, life stuff. It could be something going on at home or whatever. I want them to know they can come in and talk. Where I've had those talks with the kids. I'm like, I don't have an answer for you. I'm not equipped for certain conversations, but here's someone I want you to talk to. And I'll pick up the phone and call that person right there and say, hey, here's going through this. You need to talk to him. And I want you guys to work things out. And I'm not a problem solver, but for everything, but I do want them to be comfortable enough to. Kids these days, man, like it's tough. Like they play hockey 24/7, and if they don't get what they want right away, it's really a struggle for some. Like they're like, why am I wasting all this time and I haven't got a commitment yet, or school hasn't called this year? Like there's a lot on the plate that we don't even think about that players go through as well. So that part you gotta. I like to know what's going on in their heads at times, and I think they need to be comfortable having those talks.
Yeah, I agree. Take a short break from the conversation to tell you it is UMH 68 time. That is the Up My Hockey 68, the invitational event that is running throughout Western Canada this 2026. We have released the watch lists on the upmyhockey.com website. So you should get over to upmyhockey.com, go to the UMH 68 portion, and see what's available in your province. We are unleashing a female event in BC, in Saskatchewan, and in Manitoba this year. Different age groups on that. So get your eyes on where we're coming, who we are catering to, and get your names on the watch list. Another opportunity with UMH 68 is for people who want to be involved in it from a sponsorship category. Had some amazing sponsors last year: BioSteel, Elite Prospects. We had lots of involvement from local companies, and it was a fantastic 2025 season. But as always, we're looking to grow. One of the things that I take pride in with the UMH 68 is keeping the costs low for what the players get at our events. The value is so recognizable when you compare to other showcases, other events that go on. And for me, I don't want to raise the prices to match the value. I would actually like to lower the prices so it makes it attainable for every player that has earned an invite to get there. And we can only do that with the sponsorship dollars and with the people that want to get involved and donate to the scholarship fund. So if you're somebody that's an individual that wants to support young hockey players to come to a great development showcase event, then by all means, please reach out. If you are a company owner, whether it be a local company or a provincial company or a national company that would like to get behind female and male youth hockey, that really supports the development of the person behind the hockey player, one of the things that Up My Hockey prides itself in, then by all means, please reach out. We'd love to get you involved, and we'd love to make this be the place for development in Western Canada. So thanks for tuning in. UMH 68, again, the watch lists are out. Check it out. Now let's get back to the conversation. Well, let's flip it back on the player just quickly on that topic. Like I've had discussions with players before, right? They're going to a camp. Let's say they're going to a junior. Let's say they're going to your camp, and I'll be like, so what? Do you know what Maryland's done in the last 2-3 seasons? Like, do you know if they made the playoffs? Do you know anything about their team? Do you know anything about their coach? And 90% of the time, the answer is no, right? Like these guys aren't invested. It's not curious. And so just like me speaking on that human side again is like, I really encourage the players, like, get curious about the people that are there. Like, you should authentically want to know. One, because it's good. If you think you want to play there, you want to know about it. But two, it's like, what a great thing to have a conversation about if they knew you're at Notre Dame, or, or ask you a question about somebody that was there, or, I think the onus is on the players too, to be available and to also engage, with their coaches to help build that relationship as well. I think, when players put all the onus on the coach to make every first point of communication, like that is a hard person to reach too. Right. So I think there is some onus on them. I don't know what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we actually, when my players go on school visits, I'm like, what questions are you asking them? And they'll give me the standard ones, like, those are terrible. I'm like, get away from hockey and like, what do you know about this coach? He played here, did this, like, so I give them some insight, and I actually tell them, send me some questions. What do you want to talk about? And I'll say, well, how about these two? Add these two. I think that's more interesting for them when you talk to them. So I don't tell them everything, but I do tell them, don't be a dud.
Right.
Like, I have that conversation on the ice. I'm like, even on the bench, if players aren't talking, I'm like, holy Dudsville. Like, we talk about her shift. So I do bring that up quite a bit. Like, don't be a dud. Like, come on. Our bench can't, a quiet bench is terrible. We got to have conversations. So I think that part is important. And then, absolutely. Like, I've had kids who played for me and their dads went to school with me, and the kid had no idea his dad went to school with me. I'm like, how does your dad not bring that up at some point? Simple. Like, but they're so tunnel vision and focused on like hockey, and like I'm like, okay, there's other things in life besides just hockey, and learn what's out there. And I think that's really important. That you can talk to a coach and notice like where he's got when I go on elite prospects, he's got 10 relatives that played. I'm like, well, there you go. There's a conversation piece. You
Yeah.
know, find out more, and it just makes it more interesting. Like, it's no different than investments. And if you want to invest in something, you should probably know about it and do some research and not just go, I like it because I saw one thing. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta make it interesting for the coaches too. And I love being challenged respectfully, obviously, but I like being challenged on different things or being asked questions outside of hockey too. And a lot of players don't have that in them, or they're not taught. But I think that's real life stuff too, is how to be conversational and how to not be a dud.
Yeah, I love that. Don't be a dud. When it comes to you and going back to your playing days, like you kind of had an unconventional route to, to being in the position you're at right now. Like at what point did you turn off the hockey player aspirations and turn on the, hey, I want to be involved in the game and let's see where it takes me?
Yeah, the hockey playing aspirations, I enjoyed more of the off ice stuff. So that was, for me, I didn't enjoy it as much as you needed to, like with the hockey side. So that was a pretty quick and easy exit for me. And I went home when I was younger and I was surfing and hanging out in California. And then I walked in the kitchen after a surf session and my mom had like 3 applications for university on the table. I'm like, what's that? She's like, you're going to school. I'm like, am I? She's like, yes. Pick a university and you're not going to, wing it here. So that's how we grew up. It was like, you were going to get an education. You can't just dick around and life can't be that easy. Right.
Yeah.
So went to university and got my degree, which a lot of people were surprised, I guess. But I actually thought university was easier than high school, so I was a pleasant surprise for me. And then, but I worked hard at it for the most part. And then, I worked in hockey, so I worked in pro hockey, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know I wanted to be involved in hockey, and so I did anything. I didn't care. I was the type of guy that would have lived in camper van and done anything to work in the sport. So I had some connections from Notre Dame that got me involved early. And tell you what, man, like I look back now, I go, what was I doing? Like I'm an idiot. And I wasn't even on the hockey side. It was more the business side. But I wanted to get involved, and I just slowly kind of found my way. I didn't force it, which is probably wrong. I tell guys now, like, put your foot in the door, man, and ask questions and push yourself toward what you want to do. If it's in hockey, you want to coach, then start and don't be afraid. Which I maybe wasn't afraid, but I kind of thought maybe I didn't play like a lot of pro, like hardly any high level hockey or pro, so I'm probably not suitable or able to jump into that area.
Yeah.
But then I just said, screw it. Like, I want to coach and get involved in hockey. And so I had some more hockey operational stuff on the player personnel side. And then at some point, I just kind of wasn't making much money, and I was like, what am I doing? So I got out of hockey for a bit. And then Jeremy's the one who got me into coaching. I think he had no volunteers left, and he had a 16U team that needed a coach, and there wasn't many players. And he's like, "You want to coach?" I'm like, "Well, sure." Like, I hate to go to tournaments in Long Beach and Vegas and LA, and like, this is great living in Idaho. And so he's the reason I got into coaching. And then one of the players on my team, his grandpa is from Canada, and he came to watch early on, and then he came back like in January. And said, "Hey, how many new players did you get? Your team looks different." I'm like, "New players?" So we got no new players. He's like, "What do you mean?" So we got nothing new. And he's like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "Well, we did a lot of stuff, but we kind of basic. Like my first practice plan after one drill, I threw it over the boards and we worked on fundamentals and just pass. Until you pass the puck the way I want you to, we're not doing anything fun. So you gotta learn right away how to coach. So that's kind of what got me into it. And he actually ran a junior A team in Canada, and he wasn't with them anymore, but he was involved a little bit. So that's how I actually got my first job. They're like, you got to get this guy, and he's going to be great for our program. And so that's how I got involved in the coaching side, was really through my brother and having a real good passion for it. And I just haven't, I didn't know where it was going to take me. And 8 years later in Maryland, here we are. And I've had opportunities at higher levels, but I'm in a good spot right now, and it's a good place to be.
That's awesome. That's so fun. So kind of out of the pulled out of the abyss and into the minor hockey realm, and then one thing leads to another, and then all of a sudden you're back up in Notre Dame, and that thing comes full circle for you, and you're coaching in the SJ up there, and then off to Maryland. What was the bigger transition, being a coach there in the SJ, or moving off to into the States and joining a new league?
Oh, I would say, I mean, at Notre Dame, I knew what we had, and I knew the lay of the land, and pretty well connected. So we still got some good players. And then Maryland was, here's your team. I think I started in late April, and we were an expansion team. So I was hired very late. A lot of teams, they start a year ahead of time, so they have a full year. And I had May and June. The draft is in June, and so the process is you have X amount of tenders every year where you can offer a player like a player contract. And as an expansion team, you got like 15 at the time, but I had like before June 4 or whatever the draft date is, I had a month to like get 15 players. So even the guys in the league officer, like, I can't believe you got all these things filled out in time. And literally the last day, I was midnight. I was talking to a kid from California who was at his prom. I got him to sign a tender. Somehow I tracked him down. So it was a process, man. And we weren't the strongest team, and we had to take a lot of kids that maybe weren't the best off the ice, and deal with it. We had to take a lot of guys that weren't wanted in our league, and we had a couple good ones, but a lot of trial and tribulations. But what my ownership group here allowed me to do was hire good people, and that's probably the most important thing I can tell anyone: surround yourself with good people. And I was fortunate enough to bring in some really good assistant GMs and scouts. In fact, both the GMs in Youngstown and the USHL, which we own part of that team as well, were my assistant GMs in Maryland, and they're really good at what they do. And so, and coaches as well, like all my assistant coaches. I have one in the American, two in the American League now, one in Youngstown, and the other guys who didn't want to move on, which is fine. They decided to go a different route with their hockey, but being able to hire good people, I guess, was the biggest thing.
Right.
And motivated people, and they're kind of like, honestly, if I look at back, why did I hire certain people? I look at them, I just thought they're motivated, and that was kind of the part that made that transition easy here. So yeah, it was tough first year, but we've climbed every year, and we've built our program to a destination spot now. And but honestly, from our billet coordinator to our staff, I mean, everything we've done is with a purpose. Our training staff, our medical trainers, like, nobody gets to be with our players until they pass the test. And the test to me is personality, and do you have our players' best interests in mind? And that's what's made it easier, is the opportunity to hire good people.
That's fantastic. So when did you mentioned the first year was tough? I didn't look up to see the record. I do see the record right now. I think it's like 3 regulation losses in 21 games or something. You guys have a wagon this year. Congratulations on that. But was there a point that you saw a tangible shift, like whether it was in the recruiting model or whether it was in a breakaway season? Like what was that moment for Maryland?
Just recruiting. We talked about recruiting earlier. Like, I recruited my ass off when I first started. And then in Maryland, it's recruiting, but it's also, it's a lot of relationships now with advisors. with schools wanting to send you players. So by the time we got maybe year 3, now it came down to schools going, okay, you guys have an off ice program with actual professionals that train your athletes. You have a sports psychologist. You have full-time medical trainer, full-time equipment guy. Like, you got kind of like a pro program here. So then we started getting schools like, hey, I got a kid here who needs a spot to go. Would you be interested in taking him? He's got to work on XYZ, and I know what you guys do. So it's selling our program too, right? Like, what do you have, and comparing yourself to other programs. So I had a lot of conversations with USHL teams, North American Hockey League teams, guys I knew. I'm like, what do you do for your players? And then I presented to my ownership group and go, this is what I had that conversation too. That's probably when it did shift. I'm like, what do you want to be? If you want to be low budget, which is fine, and just do the bare minimum, like, we can still compete, but what do you want? Like, where do you want to take this? And they honestly said, well, we want to win. We want the Division I commitments. You want to be a place where kids are proud to come back to and visit. And I'm like, well, here's the things we have to do, and here's what other teams do. Some of the things I told them certain teams do, like, are they nuts? I'm like, yeah, they are. Like, well, that's what they do spend. Um, so we're not that team that does all of that, but we're very competitive, and that's allowed us too to kind of take a step. And honestly, going back to what I said before, is hiring some really good people within our scouting staff. Where, man, I get some really good players presented to me at times. And I'm like, holy crap! Like, I would have died to have this kid our first year, and when I was at Notre Dame. So the networking part is huge as well.
Yeah.
But that's where it was. A good ownership group, good people that we do have philosophy in how we recruit, where we find players, and the questions we ask players. So there is kind of a litmus test on who we're allowed to talk to or bring in, and even skate with us during the season.
Sure.
Our guys know, like, what I like and what we like, not just me. I used to be told, this is a player you're gonna love. I'm like, why? Well, he's tough. I'm like, okay, but our team isn't 20 guys are tough. Like, we got to have, our skill guys got to be, um, you know, tough as well, hard skill in certain areas, but I don't need them fighting and running around. So
Yeah.
we kind of came to a really good, strong agreement with our staff of what constitutes a good team, and compare it to winning teams at all levels, and from junior to college to pro, even the minors, the ECHL. I like to know, what do they have on their team, and watch them play and go, yeah, they got small ones, big ones, fast ones, tough ones. Like, they don't just have one look, and some teams do that. We're big, okay, but at some point you got to skate. So that's kind of how we've tried to build our teams, and but have the right personnel that can go out there and find those guys too.
How much do you value the personality, or I don't know what the right way to put it, but I mean, maybe, let's say, the character. You mentioned, like, at the beginning, you sort of had to say yes to whoever was going to come there, and you maybe had some of the misfits and some of the guys that needed second and third chances. Is that something that you do value, or is that a high priority item on your criteria?
Yeah, it's a big one for us. It's a long season. You're 8 months together on a bus, doing video and practicing. And so it tells some people, like, winning is really, 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 really hard. It sometimes winning sucks. It's lonely at times for coaches, for players. It's not easy. There's a lot of sacrifice, and you need guys that and women these days, obviously, in our game, that coach with you and train. Like, we want them to all be in terms of what the process is. So yeah, it's character is huge. We're very demanding in terms of how we practice. Some kids that skate with us are blown away by how hard we compete. It's not 2 hours of it, but when we compete, it's compete. And then the expectations with leadership. I don't I don't I don't do all the teaching. I give my players a marker and say, go run video tomorrow. You're going to talk about X, Y, Z. We're not going upstairs as coaches. Like, you don't need our voice. So we need players that are willing to take on that task. That's the hardest thing, getting a kid to talk in front of his peers. But I've had captains like that. Before I get in the room, they're on the board with a marker, giving it to guys about, hey, our forecheck is this. Why the hell do we not have F2 in the right spot? Like, it's not that hard. We got to figure it out. By the time I get in there, I'm like, yeah, what he said. Like, I don't have to do. That's what I want. I want those types of kids where it's not just me. It doesn't work when it's just the head coach, and you've all heard it. And being a player, you play at higher levels. You probably appreciate when it's not just the head coach barking, like it's your captains, a leadership group that take care of or have the answers before a coach walks in, where the coach knows I don't have to say much. It's in the end, it does come down to your players anyway. So the sooner we can get them to grab ownership and take charge, by the time they do, we're just really rolling out line combinations and telling guys, hey, remember on the face-off, they like this rotation or whatever. And we're not coaching like compete or what our systems are. And that's the fun part, is when you know you have it. I call it the sounds of the game. You know you have it if you close your eyes and listen to the game. You're like, that is how we play. You can tell how we practice, like the sounds are different. And the same conversations on your bench. If I can get guys to talk hockey on the bench and talk about what we're doing or trying to do, then you got it. When they're on the bench not talking, or they're clueless, then we aren't doing a good enough job. So that's the type of player I want, and it's freaking hard to find, man. But they're out there. But you can find skill. We all know that the hard part is finding that hockey player that's all in and will be an extension of what your thought process or beliefs are as an organization.
Going to take a short break from the conversation to remind you that Up My Hockey can work directly with your academy or your association or your team. We are doing that currently with the Thunder Bay Kings up in Ontario. All of their AAA programs are running through the Peak Potential Mindset Project and having coaching calls with me. It's been a fantastic experience so far for the group and for myself, and it really is a competitive advantage for the players that get to participate in it. Not only do the individual players learn how to become the best player that they can be, to be able to manage their emotions, be able to control their development and their performance on the ice, but the group as a whole now has a whole different level of resiliency, a whole different level of language that they can use to perform together throughout the year. So if you're looking for Team Building 101, if you are somebody that believes in building the toolkit around the player to allow them to be the best hockey player that they can be, and if you aren't doing something when it comes to mental training, mental fitness, whatever you may call it, then Up My Hockey may be where you need to look. I do believe that the way that we offer the program, the curriculum involved, the way the players take the program, it really trumps anything that is out there, to my knowledge. The workshop format is dead, in my opinion. For me to get in front of somebody for an hour, a team, and try to communicate the skills of grit or resilience or of mental agility is much too long. And to be able to teach in that environment, it just isn't absorbed enough, and then things don't get applied. The way that we have done it here at Up My Hockey is short form video approach curriculum that the players consume on their own time. They do the assignments and their homework on their own time, and then we come together for a group call where the players engage with me and each other about what they're learning, how they're applying it, and what they're using. So there's very little lecturing time involved. This is all about application. It's all about using information and then applying the information and executing the information so they actually become better players. And the results speak for themselves. It's been so fun to help the growth of the individual players and also as the teams. So if you are in a decision-making process and if you want something that's been proven, that is effective, that not only checks the box of, yes, we are doing something for these players when it comes to mindset, but it actually makes a difference for the players, that it's more than just a checkbox. It is something that builds culture, it builds leadership, it builds community, and it builds performance, then come over this way. Up My Hockey will take care of you. That is the overall business plan, too, of Up My Hockey, just to be frank, is like we need to service teams. We need to service associations so we can grow good human beings within the jurisdictions where they are. So when a player walks into your spot as a U13 or U11 competitive player, they will continue to graduate with Up My Hockey curriculum as long as they stick with the program. It takes a lot off the plate from the coaches. It takes a lot off the plate from the administrators. You'd be surprised how much fewer problems there are in general when it comes to a team format, because players are more easy or more readily available to deal with adversity and look at it as an opportunity. That some of the the headaches and things go away as well. So it really does conquer or solve a lot of problems, provides a lot of solutions. So again, we are open. We love to have conversations. If you are curious at all, look us up, jason@upmyhockey.com, or send in a contact form on the website. We're already a quarter of the way, halfway through this year. Sometimes these decisions get made a year in advance. So if you want to start the conversation now, bring it on. We're willing to have it. Now let's get back to the conversation. Yeah, I love you talking about the room. I know Jeremy and I, like numerous times this year, certain different things come up, and I love giving ownership of the room to the players, and the things that are going on. And I was like, if you guys want to be champions, like, this is where it has to start. Like, it can't be me and it can't be Jeremy that's holding you guys accountable to every detail that it requires to win. It's like, it has to be something in here that you guys understand what those details are and you hold yourself accountable to them. And I'm like, and when you get that right, that's when we'll be really successful, if this is the aspirations you want. And it's tough as coaches sometimes, right, because that's a little bit of letting go, right? A little bit of letting go to allow them to find their place and their voice and their, and their growth as young men. But I really do think, like, that you nailed it on the head there. Like, that's where it has to happen, and that's where it has to come from. And when it does, that's when they're going to have a season that they're going to freaking remember too, because it's going to be different for them.
And it's fun for them too to be in charge and have that ownership. And I at the start of every year, I'll bring the returning players upstairs in our video room, and I'll give them a quiz about our systems. And we change some things obviously here and there, but our core things and values, I'll give them a piece of paper and go, you got 5 minutes and let's see what you got. And then I'll go through them, and then if they're good, I'm like, okay, now remember, you got to help us with the rest of the room. So we're in practice, you're directing traffic, and it's not me. Like, I don't use a whistle much during practice at all. Maybe to end a drill, but that's it. I don't like whistles. And someone said a long time ago, whistles are like a negative thing in hockey. It's a penalty, it's offside, or whatever. So we don't do a lot of whistles. So not a lot of board time. So before they come to the rink, they've already got the practice plan in their phones. So how do we get through a practice? I'll look at my assistant coaches sometimes. I go, why aren't the D doing what they're supposed to do? I don't talk to the D at that point. And then at some point, I will talk to our older players. Go, why aren't you guys doing what you're supposed to do? Or why aren't we talking on the ice? But I'll talk to our captains. I don't blow the whistle and stop. I go, do you like this practice? Do you like our intensity? No. We'll go, well, then how are you going to fix it? I can't be the one fix it. They expect me to bark at them, but I need you to do it. So there's a lot of that going on, like teaching them how to be a leader and take charge. And I think our last game, we had a little stretch where we weren't doing great. And so the first guys that walked by the office on before Saturday's game, bring them in here. I didn't care if they were captains. There's 3 of the guys that walked in. I gave them the marker and said, here are 3 things I want you to focus on and talk about it. But we're not going upstairs. We're not doing video. We're not doing any chalk talk or at the board. Here's what you're going to talk about. And there's nothing I can tell you that you haven't heard. So go upstairs, have your little chat, and then do the things that we need to do to win and what make us successful. I just gave them 3 things that make us successful. I think we have to do every night, non-negotiables. And we won 4-0, and we had 16 shots on that. And that's kind of like, the account. And it's good for the players to know, like, it's not just the coaches. It gives them a little confidence too, right? Like, they'll need you at some point, but they don't need us every second of the game on the bench to tell them what to do. So I think the sooner they can learn how to be responsible and take charge and be a leader, the sooner you can do. I always say I want to get to phase 2 of what we're doing here. I don't want to be stuck in phase 1. We only get to phase 2 if you guys can do this on your own. When I realize and we think you can, then we're gonna have more fun to what our systems are, structure, or whatever we do as a team. Like, and this year, like, wouldn't be surprised that we're way ahead of where we were last year at this time. And that's what makes it fun, is the guys you have that are drivers and guys that are. You need drivers on your lines, on your bench, but you got to have a bunch of drivers, and mentally too. You got to have guys that want that responsibility, and we feel like we've got a bunch of those this year.
That's awesome. What are your non-negotiables? I mean, maybe not the three things that you gave those players, but is there things that just as far as a head coach and your philosophy and your culture go, that these are high priority items?
Yeah, I always so. I mean, there's a bunch, but being relentless. I'm like, if you got 5 feet to go, get there in a hurry. If you got 20 feet to go, like get there in a hurry. Get to where you need to be to give yourself time to assess the situation before a puck comes to you. So being relentless is another one. Like, be relentless. If you're F1, be relentless. Don't get on your inside edges and do the old shoulder shimmy where you're trying to figure out how to get a puck. Like, be straight line, stick on puck details, and get there now. Like, make it easy for F2 and F3 and our D strong side D to make a read. So those are the ones for sure. Then the one thing I like saying is when you can show me a clip of your back check legs exceeding your forecheck legs or offensive legs, then we got something here. So I do it all the time. Bring me video. Show me when you're a good F1. Show me where you're in front getting pounded trying to poke in a puck. Show me a clip of you back checking when you're blown by guys and not getting behind them, reaching. You're like getting position. So those are things where those are definitely your back check legs got to be good, man. And it's really important to us as a program that we can show that on video, like where we do that. And but being relentless. The other one too is being a good teammate. Negative benches are not wanted or needed. So I always like, hey, you got nothing to say good. You can't talk. Like, got to be positive. The coaches are hypercritical at times, so I got to check myself and tell my assistants, like, tell me, like, give me an elbow or give me a look or say something between periods. But I'm hyper competitive. I want our players to be super competitive. So practices are really, really competitive. I want games to be fun and easy based on our practices, why they're so hard and competitive. But I don't know, being relentless to me is really important. Being a good teammate at all times, not just when I'm in the room. I always tell them I hear everything, and at some point it comes back to me, so you can't get away with it. We've had a few of those discussions this year. Be a good teammate. It's not like the old days where you rookie this, rookie that. It's totally changed, and I want guys to be comfortable where they're at, and I think everyone's got a responsibility. So I guess the other one too is room, bus, hotel, locker room on the road, like spotless. We get off a bus, nothing's left. I leave a locker room on the road, nothing's on the ground. Hotel, same thing. And you'd be amazed how many people appreciate our program when we go on the road, and from the hotel staff to rink staff. I've had coaches go, you make your veterans carry shit off the bus. And like, I don't make them. Like, they just do. Like, they've learned. Like, I unload the bus. They do it. I think there is a hierarchy a little bit, but I think it's not like the way it used to be, and which is good. I want kids to leave home and come here at 17 and be comfortable in the locker room, not dread walking into a locker room going, God, I hope he's not here today. I don't think that happens much anymore, but I want them to be comfortable. So yeah, being a good teammate is a big one. It doesn't mean you're a soft teammate. I mean, I want you to go on the ice and compete against your best friend and give it to him just as hard as you would your opponent. But after practice is done, like we're good teammates.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a fine line there that kids, kids, whatever age you want to put on that, have a hard time navigating about, positivity is something that I'm strong about, but it's like there is a time that you are able to talk to a line mate about, whatever, not working, not competing, maybe not seeing you for a play, right? It's way different than pointing fingers and yelling and doing something. So I just find like, that ability to be a good teammate, definitely give a guy a pat when he's down or maybe need some encouragement, but also be able to hold each other accountable is also being a good teammate, right? But it's like, it's figuring out how to do that, which is part of growing up and which is part of finding your voice and part of leadership and everything else. But I do think like it's interesting watching some players try and navigate those waters with what that actually means, being a good teammate and what they think it means.
Well, we see players on the bench, they complain, I was open. He didn't pass me. I'm like, who? so-and-so. I'm like, he's right there. Go talk to him. What did you want there? Well, I want him to throw the puck behind the net. I go, what did you call for it? He's like, yeah. I go, well, then tell him, why didn't you pass it to me or whatever. And then the email, I go, I didn't hear you. Sorry. You know what I mean? Like they gotta talk their way through it all the time. The best players I've had, they're constantly talking in practice, 2-on-1 drill. They're talking, hey, switch here, first pass, do this or whatever. So on the bench in a game, isn't that the same thing? So when players are upset about something not happening, I'm like, well, what happened? I didn't catch it. I can't catch everything. Well, this happened. I go, well, who was involved? Well, him or whatever the player may be, a line mate or defenseman. Well, he's right there. Wouldn't that be the best way to talk to him? Like the best way. And sometimes they'll find it's like not a big deal. And the D man, I go, okay, sorry about that, and next time. And then, but work your way through it. Like power play, same thing. What do you want? So when we work on power play and they go back to the bench and the other power play ends up and they sit there, they're quiet. I'm like, conversation. I'm not in it. I can't help you. You need to learn to tell them what you want. And that happened even last week. You know, what do you want me to do here? And kid was frustrated. I go, talk to the guys on the power play. Said, I can't help you because the game's going on is chaos. It's organized chaos. The best way to navigate what you want to do is by talking to guys you're doing it with at that particular point in time. So learning how to talk your way through it and get through that is huge. And it's not easy for some of them, man. They'd been used to like coach says, do this, do that. I don't want robots. I want guys that flow together and know their tendencies. And when I climb uphill, it's coming back downhill, so be ready or whatever it may be. We give them some structure, but they got to work within it. So I think those conversations are hugely important. And you want a good power play, get a bunch of guys that communicate. Your best games that I've ever coached were the whole game guys were talking. And I wish I could bottle it up and get guys to do it every game. But I'm like, why were we so good tonight? And they'll give you a reason. One kid will finally pipe up, go, we were talking. I'm like, yeah, you can do every system wrong and do your forecheck wrong. But if you talk your way through it, you're going to have more success than if you do your system to a T and don't talk. And it's a constant battle. I talk to college coaches and pro guys are like, Clint, your conversations are not different than mine. From NHL coaches to college to, guys at high levels are like, we have the same things we go through. But yeah, that's pretty important to learn how to talk and navigate and have a tough conversation. Like guys, I hear them on the bench all the time. Why isn't so-and-so doing this as F1? They go, why don't you talk to so-and-so when he comes back to the bench? And then you see him kind of hesitate. I'm like, dude, you got to talk. I'm done talking to this player. So you have the conversation. And the guy will come back, and then sure enough, they'll pipe up and say something, and they realize it doesn't hurt. And the guy's not taking offense to it. Sometimes they don't understand maybe. I'm like, that's where video comes in. So if we have video on the bench sometimes, which we do, like this is what he means. Or periods, I'll bring them both in and go, this is what he's alluding to. Do you understand that? He's like, oh man, yeah, I get it. So that's what I mean by it's a lot of work, but we want them to be comfortable in those situations to talk and get through it, not take it personal. Like, I'll listen, man, you got something for me. I don't take it personal. Like, I have players tell me, hey, they're rotating this guy off the face-off. I'm like, okay, I missed that. Like, they switched it up on us. So I want guys who come to the bench with conversation pieces.
I say that all the time. Like a quiet ice is an unconfident ice sheet, right?
Yeah.
Is the way I put it, because you don't either know what's going on or you're scared to have direction and like to tell somebody what's going on, to call a switch, right? To call the position. And like, that's how you're going to learn. And I said, even if you call the wrong thing, right? Like at least somebody knows where you're going. To your point, right? Like you might not get the right forecheck, but at least if you go somewhere, someone else can read off you. And so I find that really wild because like sometimes even like the verbose kids, right? The kids in the locker room that are talking all the time, you get them out on the ice and all of a sudden everyone's just quiet. And it's like one of the biggest things when you get a new group together. I'm like, guys, we got to be loud out here. Like this should be chitter chatter. I shouldn't be able to talk over you guys. And it's funny, right? It's like, boom, the game comes and it quietens up. But I mean, to your point, like, I mean, any professional team that I played on that was good was always loud and was always talkative and was always communicating. And you're on the ice, you're talking the whole time.
Every sport, they'll tell you the same thing. Like the championship teams, in hockey. You have a bunch of communicators, a bunch of guys that hold each other accountable, and they're all a microcosm of your thought process as a program on and off the ice or on and off the court, and they steer it. Like they're in charge of it, and they cherish it, and they live it, they believe it. Once again, like at the point where you're just saying, hey, you're up, your line's up, or you're talking about the other team now, not us, saying, hey, watch out for, they like stretching this out, or on controls, remember, like play inside the dog, whatever. We're doing that instead of coaching our stuff. That's what makes it fun when you're not coaching us. Our systems, we're coaching like what they're facing now. So now they're past the structural stuff. They're I guess playing hockey now at a high
Right.
level
Yeah,
and
exactly.
communicating their way through it. And yeah, it's funny. I'm like, you talk all day in the room. I walk in the room, you don't shut up, and then you get on the ice and you shut up like it's the wrong time. Like we got to fix that up a little bit. But that's confidence too, and leadership is not taught a whole lot. Guys get C's and A's at young levels, and they don't really teach them why they have it, or do leadership stuff, whether it's books or meetings with their captains. And um, I love doing that with our captains. Like, hey, like what's going on with this kid? Like he looks like he's been down in the dumps a little bit, or he's not very talkative. Like, what's he like? Maybe pull him aside, or I'll ask him, hey, when you go on lunches, do you make sure like you sit beside a different player, new player every time you guys do a team lunch? They do team lunches all the time after our workout, especially on Thursday. They like doing a little sushi lunch, dinner together, or lunch before a Friday game. I was questioning them like, who'd you sit beside, which new player did you get to today, and our captain is Owen Drury. His dad's Ted Drury that played in the NHL, and his uncle is obviously the Chris Drury and the Rangers, and that's something I think he does really well. He works the room in a way where guys are comfortable with him, and he's really good at everyone's important, not just the top guys. So that's what I think is really important with your leadership group is finding kids like that. There's not a lot of them that want to do all that. Like that's the hardest part, man. Is we can all do X's and O's, but that's like almost the least important thing when you build a team. That's just like one part of it.
Yeah,
The most important part is your room and your leaders. And I'm blessed to have the last few years some really good captains.
that's awesome. Uh, I want to talk a little bit about you kind of extracting potential out of players, and then also like how do we flip that, and where do you find like what players have the most success in getting to where they want to go? I know people come to your program. I'm sure the vast majority there are dying to get a a D1 scholarship. I would assume is the overall goal there, and maybe to eventually play pro. Uh, who does reach those things? Who does move on? Who develops the fastest? What are the things that you see in players that usually drive success?
They have a motor. Every practice, they're shot out of a cannon. Every drill, they're shot out of a cannon. Every shift, like you don't have to, you never have to say once, like, hey, where's your pace today? Hey, you're not working hard, or your question is he motivated today, or what's wrong with him? Like just guys that are low maintenance. You don't have to push buttons; they just go. You're more directional. It's like the parents who ask all the questions. Like, well, have your son ask me. Like, it sounds like you want it more than him. Like, why isn't he asking me? This is in youth hockey, and then I think the same thing in junior. I relay all the messages to them. Like, who makes it? We do drills where you go over your top scores over the years that we've had in Maryland, and we talk about who do you think's playing college or D1, and they all go the top score every time. I'm like, nope. I was like, this guy's playing every game every night because every shift the coach knows what he's getting. He's smart, but the best players that played in Maryland have a motor. I don't have to tell them to work out. They would call me on days off and go, hey, can I get in the weight room? Is it open on Sunday? Even after a long trip, like they want to be in the weight room on their own. Um, they don't need a coach to push. They need direction. That's it. They need a map to, or direction in terms of here are some things you can do, and that comes down to like who can I get in front of them, whether it's trainers or professionals that can help them on their journey to make them better and enhance what they are. But the motor is the big one. I've had a member of school call me once about another player. I'm like, what else are you looking for? Like, oh man, we need a a guy that just wants to be F1. I'm like, I got a perfect one. This guy is our best forechecker, and if you watch him, he's our best backchecker. He's always getting up and down the ice. He competes his ass off, and so I just sent him clips of forechecks and backchecks. I sent him clips of being F1 on the forecheck and then blowing by guys on the backcheck when the puck got out of the zone. They're like, that's what we need. There's not enough of that, and ended up playing Division I hockey. So having a good motor, if you got a good skill set, that's great. But if you can't get pucks, what does it matter that you have a good skill set? If you can't win a battle or compete hard enough, that's another one. Compete. What good is it? Your skill matters not. Every school has access to elite prospects and hockey DB, and they know your stats. They don't talk to me about your numbers. They never ask me about stats. Hey, is he skilled or does he have points? They don't care. They see that. So what do they want to know? Schools want to know: is he coachable? Does he have a good hockey IQ? Is he does he get it? Does he know how to play away from the puck? That's another one. Youth hockey, the biggest struggles they have is they don't shoot hard enough, quickly enough. They're not strong enough to win battles, and they're not good on the walls. You know why they're not good on the walls? They don't need to be. And youth hockey, I watch youth hockey. I'm like, well, okay, why are they struggle so much at our level? What is it? I watch youth hockey, 18, 16s. I'm like, they don't have to be good. They get a puck and they skate away from a guy. It's just easier.
Yeah.
At our level, like you got a 6'2", 215-pound 20-year-old with a mustache, bearing down on you, and they're heavy. College, same thing. So wall play separates. Hockey IQ, obviously, a lot of skill. We can find skill. That's the least of my concerns. My concerns is he tough mentally? Is he coachable? Can I push him without palms up? Is he motivated on his own to be the best? Meaning, I guess, does he walk in on? We got some players this year where they're in early all the time. Before a workout, they're doing stuff. I see him. Not that I'm in the gym all the time on the road, but we get off a long road trip. I'll go in the gym and I'll get on the treadmill for a bit, or just exercise and do something. There's guys that are in there all the time, like working out, getting a workout in, and working their ass off. I'm in there laughing, going, man, I wish I had that when I was their age. And it's like, it's impressive when you got those types of kids. And you wonder why we're having success. It's a lot of guys like that. So I guess the kids I don't have to motivate is a big one.
Yeah.
Self-motivation is big, but I think also just having that motor, man. Every practice, you don't have to tell a kid to work, like they just do. I think there's a lot of kids that do actually these days. I feel like there is that. So, but there's some kids where they want to get their skill sets, but they don't ask you a question. And I love telling kids, like, you never ask me questions. I've had Division I kids in the past. I'm like, you never asked me a question, and it's December. So I talk to you or bring you in, but you would ask me a hockey question. Why not? And they're like, well, I'd figure things are good if you don't ask me anything or tell me. I'm like, how do you think that? I'm like, you're going to go to college and I'm telling you, you're in trouble. And they don't believe me. I'm like, you have to have an interest in the game of hockey. You're telling me you want to play pro, but if your dad's at work in the stock market and that's the job he's in finance, do you think he just waits for his boss to tell him what to do? Like, you guys are living in a nice home if that's the way it is. So you want to be a hockey player, you got to be all in. You got to ask questions, and you're not doing it. And if that's your attitude, you're going to struggle in college. You won't play. And they don't believe me until they get there. And then within a year, they play 3 games or whatever it may be. So that's another one too. I like kids that are conversational, and it's not just asking questions. It's like showing an interest in the sport of hockey.
Yeah, to me, like authentically curious about the game, right? Like you need to be vested in it. There needs to be an engagement with it. I think players that really do take control of their development is one thing that I encourage them to do. Is like, you have a practice, you have a team workout, we have a team practice, we have a team workout. Like, what are you getting from that workout and from that practice that's self-driven for you? And what are you doing afterwards?
Passion for all. Well, you had kids in the summer. I'm like, who do you work out with? And they're telling me, okay, I work out this guy's in the USHL, this guy's in the CHL, this guy's playing NCAA hockey. And I'm like, how old are they? Well, they're the same age as me. They're all 6s. I'm like, so you do everything they do, right? He's like, yep. I go, so let's do the quick math here. You're in 06, they're 06s. They're all playing higher levels. and you do the same thing they do, right? Yep. I go, well, how do you surpass them? Well, what do you mean? Well, if you do the same things, but you're at this level, how do you catch up? And they start thinking about it. I go, what do you think I mean by that? And they finally, the light bulbs go off, like, meaning I should probably do more. I'm like, yep. It means you might have to do more on your own and not just show up because the schedule says workout this time video. Like, maybe you got to come in and do 20 minutes of your own. And what you will find at some point, you're going to build confidence by enhancing your knowledge, um, getting physically stronger, which usually develops your mind to be mentally tougher. You got to do more, and it's not easy. That's why winning. I say winning can suck. Getting ahead in life can suck, and it can be lonely because you're doing a lot of these things without your friends. But that's what it takes to play at the highest levels. You can't just be talented.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. How often does player identity or players not maybe understanding details of the game, elements of the game that are required, or maybe not being, let's say, content or willing to grow where they're planted? How much does that come into your coaching style and the players that come through your door?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I have a lot of conversations like either you don't get it or you don't want to. And those are two really bad alternatives. So what is it? And that's when you kind of catch them like, well, what do you mean by that? You go, well, we've had this conversation about whatever it may be. It could be even like being on time, off the ice, whatever it may be. Turning your phones in. We have that process. So it's getting to know a kid and what motivates them, but also making them talk. Explain to me what you think. What do I mean by this? I have to hear it from you. It can't be me telling you do this, and then you leave because a lot of kids don't want to talk, man. They want to listen to you and leave the office. I'm the opposite. When I do video with the kid, I'm like, I'll pause it. Go, what do you see here? Talk, or I'll let them have the laptop and I'll like run it, and you tell me what you see. And for me, I can take a 30-second clip and I can make it 20 minutes. It ain't that hard. But for them, I want them to explain to me. I got to know how they think. So then it comes down to, do you understand what I mean and why I want this, and explain to me what I'm saying here. And then when they can do that, at the end of it all, you want them to be at the point where, so now we have an understanding of what we're trying to do. Yes. And then I feel confident that the kid really does get it. And then next time we do a video, we can come to an agreement of, why'd you sit me the last 10 minutes? Well, why do you think I sat you? Was it the one shift? Like, it was never one shift. It's a pattern. Like, there's patterns of the game. There's patterns to your game. There's patterns to a lot of things. So are you enhancing your strong patterns of the game, or enhancing the patterns we're trying to kill? Like, there's certain patterns we got to get rid of, but they're still there. So either we're not wanting to fix it, or we don't know how to fix it. If you don't know how, ask me how, and then we can work at it. So that's where passion comes in too, and like really wanting to understand it. And some kids are, man, they're on a fast track to the NHL in their mind, or college, and we got to teach them where the breaks are sometimes. And I'm like, I want you to go to college, but I don't want you to be a committed player. I want you to be a player that actually goes and plays. And here are things you need to do. I've had talks to kids all the time. I'm like, I pull up a schedule from the kid the other day, and I showed him like, okay, this team plays BU. They play this team, like some pretty good teams. Oh yeah, it's a really good schedule. I'm like, so when they were asking me questions about you, what do you think they're doing? And I'm like, they're foreshadowing. They want to know if you're here and it's 2-1 against BU and they're winning, you're not going to, hit the blue line and toe drag a guy and lose it. Like, they want to know like what you are. And I'm trying to teach you how you're going to play at the next level. I said, some is boring and it's not great because they're killing your artistic integrity as an artist. But sometimes you got to paint a wall. Is that okay? Well, and then he said, "You want to play Division One and then pro?" Yes. Well, I'm telling you how you're probably going to get there, because if you really map out where you are at this point and your age, and who's playing college already, like draft picks, CHL players, and returning players all get first dibs. So what does that leave you? Scraps. Fourth line, left wing, bottom of center. Yeah, you're a left winger or a right winger. Like, can you do it? So I'm trying to teach you how to get in the lineup, and then you can have some of our artistry on the ice that you so much want to show every day. but you got to be a painter sometimes that paints walls, and that's fine. So those conversations are had all the time with these guys. I'm trying to teach you how to make it. You tell me you want to play Division One and pro. This is how you're going to do it. And you can. And I always tell them, I'll never tell you can't do it in terms of being a top six or a top line. So I'll never tell you you can't get there, but I'm telling you how to at least get your foot in the door where they can decide, you know what, he's got more skill than we thought and he's doing everything right. So let's throw him a bone here and put him on the power play. Then you score a goal. Now you're off and running. Now they're starting to really see that side of you that you want them to see every night. You don't need to. So that's kind of like, once again, it's the conversation pieces and trying to teach them like what do they want from me and how do I get my commitment? Because that comes up a lot. Like, why aren't they committing to me? I just told you. And then you watch video. Are you doing what we're asking? Well, kind of. Are you really? The heart of hearts, are you really doing what? Probably not. Yeah, because you're not committed. So do X, Y, Z and watch the offers roll. And that's happened too, where kids, the light bulbs go off. They just do it. And all of a sudden they get a commitment and then you got them, right? So it's also like proof at the end. You got to show them like there's a reward at the end of all this. And that's not always easy for a teenager.
Do you feel that winning at your level it also leads to individual success for the players within it?
Always. Schools come watch us play because we're known as a team that does things the right way, and we have guys playing college hockey and now signing NHL contracts that they see the proof in how we've done things. So we try and teach that, like, we win, you win. I mean, that's the bottom line at this level in junior A. Like, the longer we play, like, I've had kids who played all year and I told them, be patient. Like, if we win, you'll get something. Like, just stick with it. That there's a lot of guys out there and they'll get to you at some point. They got to see you at the right time. And they somewhat believe it, but I got stories, man, of guys, we go to the Robertson Cup and we're playing in front of every single school and they're like, wow, he's actually pretty good. I've been selling them that he's good, but they didn't realize how good, but they get to see him like 3 games in a row. We're like, yeah, that guy's legit. And then they get something. So having a good team definitely helps. Points, you got to produce. That's part of it. But like, your points don't get you in the door, I don't think. I think you see guys your level in the Coeur d'Alene. I watch some kids that I think they think they're goal scorers, and I'm foreshadowing going, he ain't going to be a goal scorer at the next level, whether it's Western League or Junior A. But he's going to be he can make a living being a good third line guy, or if he does everything right, then he'll get his chance to score. But I think points are too much brought up by families and even advisors too. They'll bring up, oh, we got to put up points. I'm like, yeah, he's got to produce, but if he produces enough, but he's a everyday player, that's important too. But getting back to your original question, yeah, I think we win, you win when it comes to individual stuff.
Yeah, and programs want that. I mean, and it's I think the players that haven't won anything don't know, and the younger players don't really get it either, like how freaking hard it is to win. And so once you appreciate how hard it is to win, and that group of athletes was able to get to the cup or the 4th round or whatever the case may be, win a championship, it's like, well, this guy now gets it. And that's the type of person that I want to have in my dressing room, in my on my bus, right? Like, so that's the part that guys discount. And then when they'll also maybe discount the role in that winning scenario. And we all know how, you mentioned a third line guy. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being a third line guy anywhere, let alone on a winning team. Guys need that. The question is whether you want to do it. But again, if you are willing to do it and then you do win, now that's the proof also that, well, this guy is prepared to play any role, to do what he wants. Maybe he can be a higher role in our organization, but we know that he's willing to be a piece of a puzzle and values winning. So it's like, yeah, like winning. I like that too, because as you said, winning sucks. Winning's hard. It's tough to do. That's why not everybody does it. And when you're able to teach that to the players, like, boy, that follows them. Winning follows you.
Yeah, we have the talk all the time with guys, even power play stuff. I like being the left flank downhill shooter. I'm like, yeah, but our one of our top players is there. It's like, you don't like tap-ins from back post? Like, what's wrong with that position? I'm like, I can put you in that role, but it'll be on the other unit that gets 20 seconds of mop-up duty. But you can have it, or you can be where we think will have the most success, I think you would enjoy scoring, wouldn't you? So I mean, there's a bit of that too.
Yeah.
All year, when especially when you like having a good team that had early success is balancing like to get everyone involved and opportunities and where they want to be. And but like that's the part of winning. Do you want to win or do you want to get what you want? So,
Yeah.
so that is part of it for sure. And it's tough for it. It's like that at all levels. That's why some guys love being a 35 goal scorer in a bad team. I'm like, you gotta be aware of who you trade with too. Like that comes into it. Like I want winners. And you can feel on the bench when times are tough, or it's like that time of the game where you got to really get mentally tough and compete. Guys that don't want, like from the goalie on out, you can feel it and see it in their actions. They're like, God, it's a different gear. They just everyone's at this level. All of a sudden, there's times are tough. Boom, they just all of a sudden it's like totally different. And it's like you look at the guys on the ice, like yeah, they've all won. They've all been into something, whether it's in 18U coming here.
Yeah.
Like they're different. They're just a different breed, and that's what you're always trying to find and build your programs with. And that's why you try and find a lot of captains from good programs to put them in your program because they know how to win.
That's awesome. Maybe we'll just finish. Thanks so much for your time. You've been super gracious with it, but we haven't even we've talked about players. And I love the conversation, but I do want to talk just a touch about the NAHL. Like who does it attract? Is it, you mentioned tier 2, so like I understand NAHL to be the second best junior league in the United States, next to the USHL. Would that be an accurate place to start?
Yeah, they're tier 1, we're tier 2. So that being said, I mean, it's funny. We've had teams in the preseason play USHL teams and win. So I think the difference being though they're younger. So the CHL has like an age requirement. You can't
Yep.
have 20-year-olds. Where our league you can have 20-year-olds. So at times it's a bit heavy. Older, we're kind of a hybrid. We have a good mix of younger, older, but there's no requirement on how many 16, 17, or 18-year-olds you have. So it's and it's scholarship wise, commitment wise, USHL, you're going there with a commitment already. A lot of committed players are drafted to those teams, and hey, we need a guy. You need him to play 1 year before he comes to our school, and where we don't have that as much, but we got a lot of commitments every year. It's a great place to develop. There's 30 plus teams in our league now, and they're everywhere. So the hockey's really good. Like when I first started our first open camp, I was like, holy crap, there's kids I'm not even getting invited to our camp I would have loved to have at Notre Dame. Like there is a difference. I feel like in the US, the skill sets are different. Everyone can skate, handle the puck. It's a different, it is different hockey than Canada. Totally different. Canada's still got that feel of toughness and grit, where the US is getting that. And I think their national program is really blown the game up, where you see kids, the skill is ridiculous. Like it's ridiculous everywhere, but the US is getting more popular, and the NAHL is benefiting from that growth of hockey and the national team that they've had for the last few years, and based out of Michigan. I think has really enhanced their product down here, and so many good players, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. So when you're saying, so you guys have no 20-year-old cap, whereas the USHL does have a 20-year-old cap, just like the Canadian Hockey League?
Yes.
Gotcha. So then there would be players in the NAHL that have played the USHL that maybe have aged out there. They can't make the team, and now they have another year of eligibility. They haven't been committed. So now these guys are coming to your program or to somebody's program there.
Correct. Happens every year where sometimes we have young kids that are really good, and you'll see during the season some are traded to the USHL, or we'll get guys that are aged out, or like they got 620s at camp, and they're like, we can only keep 4, so 2 are available. And that's why when you draft, sometimes you kind of take a flyer on some 20-year-olds that are really good. And you think, well, what your needs are, and you take a flyer on them, thinking, okay, if they don't make it, we want to give them a good landing spot. And that's why we think we are a good landing spot for these guys, where if they don't stay in the USHL, they can come play for us and still get what they want, or schools will still be happy. Like, hey, they're going to Maryland. They're in good hands.
Yeah. Awesome. So is there a percentage kind of either from your league or from your team that like usually moves on? Can you put a number on that?
I can't change. It fluctuates, but I know we have a lot of first round picks every year in the USHL. And there's a lot of movement. I mean, it's huge. It's a piece of contention with I think some owners where they're not happy losing players every year, but we know we're going to lose players to the USHL. I mean, we have 6 a year where they're drafted or free agents that go somewhere and make it. So it's a constant juggling act. You got to be prepared. That's why I think we do work so hard in the off season with our relationships to make sure like we might lose. I always forecast. I think we're going to lose 6 guys. You think so? I'm like, I know so. So if we get 2 of those back, we're in good hands. So it's a constant juggling. And percentage wise, I don't have a percentage. Like it just fluctuates, but it's a lot more than any league. Probably the North American Hockey League lose a ton of players to the USHL, and a lot of USHL coaches and GMs come from our league, so they know our league very well. So they know what they're getting, and they know the coaches and the GMs. So there's a lot of synergy in that area as well.
That's wild. I wouldn't have guessed that aspect. That's cool. So like if somebody's doing well in your league, like it's being scouted by the USHL and hey, like he's going to be a contributor here. We'll take him.
Well, we've sent guys to the USHL during the season, like they're in the World Junior A Challenge. I won't hold, I try and tell like, listen, if you're going to use them and play them, you can have them for 3 games. I think it's important for a kid to get a chance, and the kids appreciate it. The USHL teams, obviously, it's good for them to get a good player in to help out. So last year, I think we had 3 guys. We lost the USHL for 2 weeks during the World Junior A Challenge, and we had 3 guys out already with illness, and so we were missing 6 guys at that time. But I think it also gives you a chance to see what you got as a program. I think we went 4-1-1 during that stretch, so I don't mind doing it. I think it's important that kids get those opportunities and within reason. Like I don't want guys going, "Oh, you have a good team. We're taking 5-year guys." I don't think that's fair. We have a to run too, but there is synergy, there is movement, and there is promotion. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great, man. Well, I really appreciate the chat. I'll let you go. I know. Clint took the time to sit in his car with us here today, guys, because he was halfway between locations. So I really appreciate you doing that. Hope you have a comfy seat there. It looks like you're.
It's comfy car, man.
Yeah.
It's all good. Well, I appreciate your time, Jason. It's great talking to you. Like I said, I like watching your podcast. There's a lot of good insight, and best of luck moving forward with this, and also in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, we're having a blast. We're things are starting
that.
to come together. Yeah, it's been good. So it's been fun hanging out with Jeremy, and we love the area. So it's been a great move, and yeah, hopefully more good things to come. So same to you. Same best of luck to your guys. Like I said, you guys are off on a heater. Looks like you got a great team there this year. So go chase those championship dreams, and we'll be keeping track of you.
All right, thanks. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Clint. Thank you for being here for episode 166 of the Up My Hockey podcast with Clint Mylmyok. I really enjoyed that conversation. And Clint obviously knows what it takes to develop young men into good humans and winning successful athletes. Not only by his approach to, getting to know the players, getting to teach them, train them, talk with them as humans to get the most out of them as athletes, and also the way he handles his locker room. There's a lot of leadership building that is going on there. There's a lot of confidence building that is going on there. And I love to hear the success and see the success that his team is having. To walk into an expansion team as he did, start from the ground up, having to do probably too many jobs at the time, allowed him to really learn, understand what he wanted to create there, and he sounds like he has an amazing ownership group that is very supportive of what the athletes need and what the staff needs to create a winning environment, and they are doing the tough things, right? It's hard as a coach to take the time to have the conversations, to take the time to go over individual video, to take the time to invest what is kind of required to get the most out of athletes. There's a lot on a coach's plate, and when you're dealing with 20 athletes and you're thinking about each athlete's vision, and what they want to become and what they think they can become, and you are invested in that player, it is hard to do everything the right way. And the consistency when it comes to coaching is is a challenge when it comes to that. And that's why, not all coaches are created equal. There might be the good intentions. There might be coaches that have the lip service required about what they think they're supposed to do, but you don't know until you get involved. And I think one of the reasons why Maryland is so successful is because of Clint and the way that he handles things there. When you build your reputation as a coach, as a mentor and somebody who invests time, and you do it consistently and you do it with authenticity, it is much easier for advisors, parents, and players to say, hey, I want to go here. I know that I'm going to be somebody that is going to be invested in, and I'm willing to invest back. And so congratulations on Jeremy for kind of, I think, shining a light on what hockey can be and should be. A place to develop people, a place to teach these young men and women of the game, how to be better people, how to be great hockey players, what it takes to be a great teammate, and yeah, well, what a better vehicle to build those skills. And athletes, if you're listening out there, my goodness, how many things was he talking about, from winning to development to being the best player you can be and being a great teammate. Like how many things were about the skill of a hockey player? Or how many times did he mention going to end when advancing? Like how many times did he mention points? When he did mention points, he said, yes, they are necessary, but they don't get you there. Like their production is a requirement. But what he means by that is, like, you can't be a quarter of a point game guy and expect to be the quarterback of the power play. Like, that's not what you're getting recruited for. You can be a quarter of a point guy if you are a stay-at-home defenseman that defends with what does he use? The word relentlessness, right? With relentlessness, and gets the puck out of his end successfully 90% of the time. Like, there is room for you. So yes, stats is a thing. It's something that parents and players get fixated on, and it's fun to score. It's fun to set guys up. There's nothing wrong with that aspect of the game. I love scoring goals. But you do need to understand the details of the game, the other side of the puck, the nuances, our discussion about curiosity and being curious and engaged in the game. These are the things that allow you to get your foot in the door at the next level, on the next team you want to play on, whether that be junior level or NCAA or pro, or even the AAA maybe program that's in front of you right now. Be somebody that does more than one thing, and to do that, you need to be have a motor, as Clint said. You need to be curious, as we said. You need to have a passion, and you want to be the most well-rounded player that you can be. That is a surefire way to get you opportunity, to allow you to open doors. Like, as he said, in an NCAA program, when you're stepping in there, you're going to be fourth line left wing, even though you think you're a center and a second liner. The question is, can you do that? The most important thing at the beginning is getting your foot in the door, so you have an opportunity to establish yourself, and then you grow from there. But the requirements of that player in that position aren't probably what you've thought about, or what maybe you enjoy doing right now. So if you want to play hockey, just go play hockey. I encourage everyone to play hockey. I think it's an awesome thing to get started with. But if you want to be a hockey player, you have to start thinking about things a little differently. And I thought that conversation was an awesome one for anyone out there who actually wants to be a hockey player. So until next time, you guys play hard and keep your head up.